There we go.
Great.
Recording in progress, a very famous sound of every class, right? Okay, so buenas tardes a todos y buenas tardes, Naisha. ¿Cómo estás?
Está bien, gracias.
Qué bueno. So Naisha was super generous and she agreed to meet with me so she can come and talk to you guys a little bit about her experience with taking the class with us with Fast Track Intensive Spanish and about her experience. So I'm going to start by asking Naisha to introduce herself and share a little bit about herself and the reason she decided to take a Spanish class. So Naisha, take it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anna, for having me. I'm super excited to share more about my experience. So a little bit about me. I moved to Puerto Rico, well, partially Puerto Rico, for about 2.5 years ago. I had no Spanish background ever. I barely took any classes in the past. So I really wanted to get more immersed in the local community. So I thought, learning Spanish would be a great opportunity to do that. So coming in not knowing very much, I definitely really benefited a lot from the class that you put together, Anna. I loved the group setting. I loved how the group setting was small and intimate, so we can kind of learn from one another and bounce off of one another. I loved how, it was a community of other, US mainly students who wanted to also learn the language. So it was kind of that similarity and that being able to identify with one another. And I love how you created a safe space for us to ask questions, for us to make mistakes, and for us to kind of learn along a similar journey. So it was a great experience, and I definitely feel like my Spanish has improved tremendously from taking your class.
Oh, wonderful. Yay, that's so nice to hear. Thank you so much. And so what was your what would you say? Let me see if I can read my notes. So how do you think the course helped you improve your language skills? What was one thing that you would say the course helped you with?
Yeah, I think the way that you went about having the different modules from specifically starting out with us understanding salutations and greetings, and you kind of from there evolved into verb tenses, and then from there evolved into pronouns and possessives, and then direct objects. So I think the way in which you approached it from a very like foundational level to slowly getting more advanced in following a certain system and process that would allow us to absorb the basics to build off of, I think was really critical, because it didn't feel like we were just jumping into kind of like a deep ocean. It
Yeah.
felt like we were taking baby steps. And I think that's what really helped us kind of like manage the amount of information we were receiving throughout. And I also loved the way you combined different modes of learning. So we would do lectures, we would do in-person Café con Anas, where we would in person kind of like try to speak with one another. I also loved how you shared some music videos of Spanish songs for us to kind of hear how people speak. I also loved how, sometimes we would go into breakout rooms and practice with one another and do exercises with one another. So I think a huge aspect being the like multimodal
Yeah.
aspect of the class also kept it very interesting. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, Naisha was definitely one of my star students. So we like, every time I will always say, what will Naisha do? What will Naisha do in this case? Because it's really, my students are such a huge part of the class. And like, like I always said, um, because our groups are intimate, it's easy for me to see where the class is that day when we're doing our live lessons. And I might come with a plan, but then if I see that there was like an area that someone was stuck in, or something that started when we do our warm-up conversations at the beginning, then I thought this is appropriate to do today. Forget about the agenda. Let's work on this today because I think everyone is ready to absorb this information. Did you feel like that we did that a lot? And was that helpful to you?
100%. I felt like you had a structure in a system, and though there were elements of like keeping it organic, where if we had to spend more time on a specific topic or module, or if we had to kind of skip a little bit faster, I loved how it was very organic to how us as an entire group, we were evolving. And I think you did a really good job, although we were, a group of a few people, you did a really good job keeping tabs on the individual growth
Yeah.
of each person, to also know how to customize the group experience to where each of us was, because some of us were able to absorb the learnings a little bit differently than others. And you did a good job ensuring that we were all still following a similar pace in an organic way, depending on our like learning styles.
I love that. I love that. And I also noticed that uh, as you guys got more comfortable, you guys were kind of also running the class because students will ask questions and you guys will either hear something and say, wait, is this how we say it? Or, and then help each other, which I think students learn from me, but they also learn a lot from each other because you're hearing it from a peer and it kind of comes from a different angle. Did you notice that as well?
100%. So I was one of those people who always thought that the best way to learn a language was like individual one-on-one with like an instructor. And I was pleasantly surprised from this experience that the group experience can actually help you learn as well as effectively, but in a different way. To your point, learning from one another and exercising with one another. I think, some of, my fellow students, would ask certain questions that I was also thinking, or would ask things that I didn't realize could be a good question to clarify something. And so from that kind of multitude of like, them reflecting and them kind of like looking at a certain topic from a different lens, I was able to learn so much more than if I were kind of from an individual one-on-one basis.
Right.
And I also felt like we became friends towards, the end as well. It was kind of like a group evolution, kind of like we were all growing through the same
Yes.
process. And it made it enjoyable. And some of them, would crack jokes, in the group chat, or would crack jokes during the session itself. And we got to know certain personalities,
Yes.
all different personalities, and it just kept it as something to just look forward to joining, at the end of a busy day, or in the middle of a busy day, since our classes took place during lunch hour. So it was something to look forward to as like a fun group of friends coming together to
Oh my
grow.
God. That makes me so happy because I know that that's the biggest thing. Like you don't want to feel like, oh, I have to go to my Spanish class. It's more like I can't wait to my Spanish class. At least I get a break. I get to laugh. I get to
Yes,
learn, and
exactly.
I could see that on everyone's faces in the class. I always used to love seeing everybody laughing at different things and applying the things and taking turns speaking and I know it was working when if I forgot someone, the person, hey, I haven't gone yet. Like no one was hiding. Everyone wanted to
No one was
participate.
hiding. Everyone wanted to participate. Everyone wanted to, because your exercises were so engaging and so fun. So everyone wanted to kind of like say their particular sentences.
I love
Um,
it.
and I think a large part of that was you, Anna, because I think we can always get into a group setting, learning any kind of topic on anything. And the group setting can be stale if the instructor themselves is stale. So I think you had a lot to do in bringing in that energy that made us want to also mirror your
Oh,
energy.
thank you.
So thank you for kind of creating that space.
Oh, absolutely. It was 100% genuine from my heart. Like I am like in love with my students. I'm like, oh my God, our children, they're here. Let's
We
go,
felt like
let's
your
go.
children.
Come on, God, let's go. And then, so let's see, what else do I have here? So, well, I guess you touched a lot on that then. So, what did you like the most about my teaching style? Like, was there anything in particular that you would say, like, what was the thing you liked the most?
Yeah, I think you did a great job providing like that personalized feedback on assignments. So while during the class itself, we're in a group setting, we're kind of learning from one another. Whenever we would have homework or would submit an assignment, you would provide like that individualized feedback, which would kind of help us adjust where we were in kind of our personal journey in the language. So I really appreciate that kind of one-on-one element to what it was kind of like that group setting. I also think you really did a good job of like ensuring that we weren't just learning the like vocabulary or the structure or the grammar, but you really helped us improve our pronunciation to sound more and more like a native Spanish speaker versus just knowing what to say, but not how to say it.
Mm.
So I think even myself, my pronunciation of words significantly improved to make me feel less, kind of like a newbie in the
Oh,
language. So I also appreciate that that element was important to you
oh,
as well.
wow. Oh wow, thank you. Yeah, that's what I always say. If you can sound like a native, you develop that confidence, and then you can build upon that. But that is a key. That is the key first building block of the Spanish learning journey is the pronunciation, which is so simple, but it's so important. If you overlook it and want to rush to learn more verbs and learn on, but you don't know the basic, which what makes it sound unique to Spanish and to Puerto Rico in a sense, because there were a lot of the things that you guys have learned because you live in Puerto Rico that you hear a certain way, and I kept arguing with not arguing, but challenge. I kept being challenged by Chavi, for example, who kept saying, "No, we say this," and I'm like, "No, we don't. We say this.
Right,
You just
right.
can't hear it. It's there." And then
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, and now I hear it." So yeah, that was definitely.
Yeah, and
That,
there were so many times where so my partner who has been in Puerto Rico for over 10 years, he's a fluent Spanish
yes.
speaker. There'd be times in which after our lessons I'd tell him, "Hey, did you know this? Did you know that this is actually how you pronounce this word? Or did you know that the meaning of this word is actually this?" And he was like, "Oh, I actually had no idea." Because he just learned from being in Puerto Rico, right?
Right.
He didn't take your class, he didn't take
Right.
like the proper way. And
Yes.
so he himself speaking Spanish for 10 years,
Uh-huh.
literally, there were things that I was teaching him on the proper way to pronounce or the proper way to use a certain phrase that he himself would have never kind of like really understood because he kind of just learned on the go.
On
So
the
it was really
go.
interesting where he was like, I was teaching him
Oh
sometimes.
my God, I love it. That's awesome. And that's great because you're right. If you learn it on the street, you learn it in a different way. When you learn it, and I don't ever want my classes to feel like they're just like a formal setting. I want this to be truly like as practical as possible, because what's the point of you learning all this, like scholar Spanish, but then you can apply it. So that was a big thing. So he probably was like, "Oh, I've heard that before, but I didn't know that's why
I
we
didn't know,
say it,
yeah.
or this is how we say it."
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, good, 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 good.
So I think a
So,
lot of Spanish speakers could benefit from your class as well, maybe.
but you know what? In fact, that's so funny. I've actually had Spanish speakers that say to me, "Oh, I didn't know that." When they see one of my classes, I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm constantly
Yeah,
hearing people, even on the news. I watch the news and I'm like, "How is that person in the news?
yeah.
That's not even how you pronounce that. And that's not how you say this." And well, they conjugate the verbs wrong. And there's so many things that are just little details that you didn't learn it in school, no one corrected you, and you carry on with it. So that's what I want to get my students at. Like, even my students can be beginners or intermediate. Everyone, do you feel like everyone can in this class? Have you been beginner or in your level that you were more advanced? Do you feel like everyone benefited from from all aspects of the program?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I would consider myself beginner, and I do
Mhm.
think I would observe that one or two people in the class would be a lot more advanced than myself, for example.
Mhm.
But I think we both learned a lot from the class. I think there were a lot of things that they thought they knew because they learned from just living in Puerto Rico that they realized they were pronouncing it wrong,
Mhm.
or that they were using it wrong, or that there is another way to kind of like approach the grammatically and stuff like that. So I think it could benefit people from any level for sure.
I agree. And I actually spoke to one of them and he said, "God, there were so many things I was saying wrong and all this time, but no one corrected me now." And now they want to continue. So do you feel like the class gave you a thirst to want to continue learning and continue to like, do you feel like this is the beginning, basically?
100%. I definitely feel like this is the beginning. I feel like this is something that you can do for like an extended period of time, like long term.
Yes.
Just meeting with a group of friends and continuing kind of that language with kind of like your guidance and your energy. And really just feeling like you're meeting up with friends and kind of improving your Spanish along the way, and something that you just want to continue doing for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And that is another thing too, that I've had now some of the students from your class that are asking, "What do we do next? We want to continue." So we're working on that. We're working on that because it is a community. And that is the thing that when it ends, you're like, "Okay, now what?" It's like suddenly you feel like, "Okay, now I'm by myself again. I can practice here and there, but I don't have this constant group of friends that are all interested in continuing to learn and have fun while you're doing it." So
Yeah.
that's super exciting. I'm super excited about the next things. So let's see. I have one last question for you here. So did the course content meet your expectations?
I think it exceeded my expectations significantly. I think there's a lot that I learned in the period of time that we were working together that I thought would take me 2 or 3 other classes to be able to learn. So I think, and it also didn't feel like we were bombarding a lot into the period of time that we were together. It felt like we actually learned so well each different module that we were able to transition to the next because it was so well explained, and
Oh,
therefore we were able to cover so many more modules than what maybe another class or another instructor might have, which is we would have probably covered a third of what we covered in this class and would have had to sign up for a level 2 to
yes.
cover what it is we already covered in this class. So I think you did a great job covering a lot of different topics, but also going not only in that breadth, but also in depth
Yeah,
with each of them, where we
yeah.
felt like instead of taking 4 different classes, we really took one and we're able to kind of cover so many aspects of the Spanish
Oh,
language.
wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you for saying that because I did feel like, did I give it too much? But
No,
I
it
was
was
like,
good.
I feel you guys can handle it. So we'll just keep going. But yeah,
Yeah.
I that's wonderful. Thank you for saying that. And did you feel like the supportive material for the program, like the way the course was built, was it helpful to you?
100%. I loved the documents you would go through during the class. I love how you shared them prior to the class so that we can kind of like get a sense of familiarity. I loved the homework. I love the ability to kind of watch some of the videos that you shared, the different kind of multimedia aspects we can learn. I love the way that you structured everything in kind of one central space for us to refer back to. You provided all the recordings for the classes so that if for any reason a student missed a class, or if we just wanted to kind of go back and re-understand the topic that we learned for the day, you had everything kind of systematically organized for us to not only follow the class in the pace that you were going, but also go back at our own pace as much as we needed to really make sure that we absorbed everything and we're ready for the next class.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. And last question, the WhatsApp group, which is a bonus for the program. Did you enjoy the WhatsApp support group?
The WhatsApp group was so much fun. It was just like, our friends community. I think you mentioned the
Yeah,
word community, which I think
yeah,
is a mirror to what this class represents. And I think when we're in the WhatsApp group, we would check in on one another, and we would kind of share class updates, and you would share kind of, context. And that's kind of a lot of ways that the organic aspect of the class came to be, is through those organic conversations in the WhatsApp group. And you maybe even suggesting to us like, hey, should we, shift, the time based on someone else's
yeah,
schedule so that we can be mindful?
yeah,
Or, there's this element that you wanted to add to the class. Are there other elements we want to add? And you would allow us to kind of co-create the curriculum with you
yeah,
through these kind of informal chat aspect, which I
yeah,
think was really cool. And I think it also allowed us to informally connect with one another as fellow students.
yes.
I, reached out to Genevieve, offline, and, asked if I could go to her the sale that she was having at her house, the,
Yes,
the
yes, yes,
backyard
that's good.
sale, the yard sale she was having at her house. And we ended up connecting on, both of us having, kids within our family, and, summer camps and
Oh,
stuff like that, similar to how I asked
right.
you about things unrelated to the class down
Yes,
the line. So
it,
we all built connections through becoming friends towards at the end of it.
yes.
So that was a really nice way to kind of build community with people I've never met before, but became family with,
Oh
as
my
they.
God, that is honestly like the best. Your music to my ears with all your amazing feedback. And so, would you say that overall, have you ever had an experience like this before in any other program you taken?
Not in a group program. I think that's why I shared previously that I was a little skeptical about the
Yeah,
group aspect, because
yeah,
sometimes when you're in a group aspect, you can either yourself feel like you can like, sit back because others are talking, or you can feel as though there's not as much individual attention.
yeah.
So I was skeptical, but I actually felt like I would do another group setting again, especially for, language learning, because of the way that you set it up,
Oh,
because it created a fun to, as mentioned, fun and engaging community environment to kind of like grow together and build off of each other and support one another.
oh wow, Naisha, thank you. So, last words. Would you? So, if someone said to you, "Well, I wanted to take a Spanish course. Should I take this course with Anna? What do you think?"
I told my mom to take the course with Anna. Okay. So my mom is gonna sign up at some point because she's been trying to learn Spanish for like the past 20 years.
Wow.
So I told my own family to join.
Oh,
I will continue learning from
yes.
Anna.
Thank you.
And 100%, I think if you, whether you're, based in Puerto Rico or not,
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy learning Spanish with her. You'll cover so much more than you think, you could, within the period of time that the class takes place, and you'll have fun doing it.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Yeah, because that's one thing. You don't have to. It's not like one of those things that if you say I'm leaving Puerto Rico for a week, I'm gonna miss class. You don't have to miss class. You can sign up wherever you are and take the class, and you don't miss
Yeah.
the experience.
Yeah.
So wow,
So
well,
thank you, Anna.
Naisha, you just made my day. Thank you so much for this lovely time, and thank you for being such a believer of the VIEs. And I am just thrilled that I had the opportunity to check in with you. I first of all missed you, so I'm so happy to see your beautiful
Oh.
smiley face in your apartment, your city
My
apartment.
virtual.
and well, I look forward to catching up for our next adventures. And when I get back to Puerto Rico, obviously we know we have a coffee that we have to go and have in Mayagüez. So,
Definitely, definitely
oh,
we will. And if you ever get um Spanish, immersion Rincon learning t-shirts, I'll be the first one to wear it and wear
oh, thank you. Well,
it.
they're coming. They're coming. I'm gonna send us a survey on the group for you guys to pick the official look. I have 4 designs that I created myself, so
Nice.
I will let you
Wow.
know, and you guys
Yes,
are
I
gonna
want a
get one.
t-shirt. I want a t-shirt.
Yay! Yay! Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And
Thank you.
I am muy, muy, muy agradecida. Muchos besos y abrazos, amiga.
Appreciate it.
Ok,
Thanks again, Anna.
cuídate. Gracias. Bye, bye. Hasta luego. Cuídate. Chao, chao.